ready, state,
State's ready, Judge.
defense?
We're ready, Judge.
All right, state where we left off. I believe you were calling your next witness, so if you could call your next witness, please.
The state calls Eric Roberson.
And if you could take a seat here, please. All right, and please do not touch the microphone. If you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you can state your name for the record and please spell it.
My name is Eric Roberson, ROB.
Don't touch the microphone.
I'm
please.
self-made, sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Eric Roberson, ROBERSON.
All right, state.
Good afternoon, Investigator Roberson. How are you?
Good, how are you?
How are you currently employed?
I'm a crime scene investigator for the San Antonio Police Department.
And how long have you been with SAP?
11 years?
Have you been a crime scene investigator that whole time?
Yes, ma'am.
And do y'all receive any special training to perform the duties of CSI?
We receive a 400-hour training course after we're hired. And then we go through various trainings throughout our career.
And so, excuse me, what kind of things do you learn in your training?
Everything that we have to do out in the field, from fingerprinting, photographs, collection of evidence, like I said, everything we have to do.
So what are the duties of a CSI?
We preserve and document crime scenes.
Can you just describe to the jury how you generally preserve and collect evidence?
Evidence is usually collected in envelopes or paper bags, and then sealed with tape, clear tape, and then evidence tape over that clear tape.
And do you usually bag it in the paper bags at the scene as you're collecting it, or at a different separate location?
Yes, no, it's usually collected in the paper bags, seen, and it usually stays in that same bag.
And what do you typically do with evidence once you've collected and you've packaged it?
We drop it off at the evidence and property storage facility.
And is that a secure location?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working on the afternoon of October 21st, 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you dispatched to a call that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall the location of that call?
I don't recall the exact address.
Did you write a report?
Yes, ma'am. And the address should be on my report.
So Investigator Robertson, I'm sending you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 96. What is that?
That's the report that I generated that day on the 21st of October.
And would it aid your testimony to be able to refer to that report as you testify?
Yes, ma'am.
So you may refer to that report, but please don't read directly from it. So what was the location that you were dispatched at?
It was, I have 1220 IH10 West, apartment 205.
And do you recall if the apartment complex had a name?
Yes, but I don't remember where it was.
Okay. What time did you arrive to the call?
At 3:53 in the afternoon. That's when I was dispatched, and I got there at 4:03.
And when you arrived to the call, what did you observe?
I observed it was an apartment complex. I saw a detective at the time, Rutina, with his camera. He was already taking photographs before I got there. I went inside and I observed the victim on the bedroom floor with blood on her face and nose and mouth.
Okay, so I'm going to back you up. I should have asked this earlier. What do you remember as the basis of the call? Why were you called out there?
It was called out there for a DOA.
And what is a DOA?
The parents on death.
Okay, so there's a person found dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you mentioned that you entered the apartment, and where do you recall where you saw the victim?
In the bedroom. I believe it was one bedroom, so in the bedroom.
And do you recall where she was located in that bedroom?
I believe she was towards the foot of the bed, or at the foot of the bed.
Was she on the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did mention that she had blood coming out of her mouth. Did you observe any other injuries?
Not that I know of.
So you mentioned Detective Bertino was there. Did you see any others there working in a law enforcement capacity?
There were patrol officers there, I can tell you who they were, and then Detective Hines was there.
And what was Detective Hines doing while you were there?
He was lead investigator for the call of them.
Was he processing the scene?
He doesn't really process it like we do. He kind of waits for us to process and then gathers information, he talks to people, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe processing the scene wasn't the best choice of words, but did you collect any physical evidence while you were there?
I did. I collected a pair of eyeglasses that were broken in portions.
And where did you find those eyeglasses?
They were on the bedroom floor,
Where in the bedroom floor?
adjacent to the victim.
Where exactly in relation to the victim's body were the eyeglasses found?
I don't remember exactly where they were found in relation to her. I don't recall exactly in relation to the body where they were.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
So Investigator Roberson, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 71. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, and those are the glasses that I took.
Those are the glasses that you collected that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned that they were broken in 4 pieces. Can you describe the condition of them further? Was there any substance on them, or is
They had apparent blood on them.
I'm sorry.
They had apparent blood on them.
Okay. And what did you do when you found the glasses?
So we waited for the medical examiner to remove the body, and then that's when I collected them.
And you say you collected them. Can you describe to the jury how you collected them? What did you do?
Placed them in a manila envelope and then sealed that envelope.
And you did that at the crime scene?
They placed them in the envelope at the crime scene and sealed it at our office.
And did you make any markings on that manila envelope at the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
And what markings did you make?
I put my initials and badge inside the envelope. We're supposed to mark the item, sometimes impossible to mark the item. So I marked the inside of the envelope. And then,
And did you seal the envelope there at the scene, or did you take it to a different location?
I took it to our office at 515 South Korea.
And what did you do with the envelope there?
I sealed it with clear tape and then red tape, and then marked the red tape with my initials and badge as well.
And after you sealed it, what did you do with that?
I printed out a barcode label for each of my item of evidence. It's a barcode label. I printed out a barcode label and I submitted it to the property and evidence storage facility.
So Investigator Roberson. I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 97. Can you tell me what that is?
Looks like a package from the crime lab that contains items of evidence that I collected and another case I collected at various scenes for this case.
And tell me what items are in that bag.
A pair of eyeglasses, a pair of blue shorts, a pink muscle shirt, another red muscle shirt, and a pair of gray and red shoes.
Now, could you do me a favor and carefully open up that bag and select the Could you open up that bag for me, please, and select the container that has the glasses in it and pull it? So I'm now handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 98. Can you tell me what that contains?
This is the package of the eyeglasses that I collected that day.
And can you do me a favor? Can you open it up carefully and look inside without showing the jury? And are those the same eyeglasses that were pictured in the photo and that you collected adjacent to Paula Boyd's dead body on October 21st?
It looks like they've been wrapped by the crime lab.
Okay, you can open it and take a look at it.
Yes, those are the glasses.
And are they in the same or substantially the same condition as they were when you packaged them on October 21st?
Yes, sir.
And apart from the crime lab markings, have they been altered in any way?
Not that I can tell you.
And how did these glasses get to the courtroom today?
I picked them up from the evidence facility today,
And you transported them
and I
here?
transported them here today.
Your Honor, State moves to exhibit, State's Exhibit 98, pending objection from defendant.
Any objections to this?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm hoping she's gonna walk it over.
All right, thank you.
I have.
No objections, Judge.
All right, then State's Exhibit number 98 is admitted into evidence.
Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury?
Granted.
And just for the record, she's offering 98's the bag, but she's also offering the contents of the bag. Right,
That's
okay.
correct.
Thank you.
I didn't hear what you said, Brittany.
I'm not gonna put these down on the counter because they have blood all over them. So just hold them. So apart from collecting and packaging and transporting the glasses, did you have any further involvement at the crime scene on the 21st of October?
At that, on the 21st of October, no, ma'am.
Investigator Roberson, as the investigation into the murder call void proceeded, did you have the opportunity to assist in executing a search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
And on what date did that occur?
I'm not sure, but it's on my report.
And handing you the mark as State's Exhibit 9K. What is that?
Just the report that I generated for the search warrant execution.
And would referring to that report help refresh your recollection during your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Feel free to refer to your report, please don't read directly from it. So do you recall what date you assisted in executing the search warrant?
October 27th, 2015.
And what was the location of that search warrant?
5622 Evers Road, apartment 1401.
Do you know who lives at that apartment?
I was told RC Curtis lived there.
And are there any other occupants apart from R.C. Curtis?
I did not know that.
So when you arrived to 5622 Evers, what was going on?
I met with Detective Hines, who requested that I assist in processing the scene or executing the search warrant.
He was already at the location?
Yes, ma'am.
And were there any other members of law enforcement there?
I don't remember.
What items were you looking for?
We were looking for a Spurs hat, muscle shirts, and shoes.
Okay, and were you able to locate those items?
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize, Your Honor, I just have to mark some photos.
Yes.
you what's been marked as states exhibits 100 through 107. Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are those photos of?
Photos are items of evidence like collected from that editor's evidence.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the scene as you remember it that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, state moves to enter states exhibit 100 through 107, pending objection from the defense.
May we approach Judge?
Yes. All right, state what exhibits are you offering?
Your Honor, state moves to enter states exhibits 100 through 105, as well as states exhibit 107.
All right, any objections to states exhibits 100 through 105? Defense.
No, Judge.
Any objections to states exhibits 107?
No, Judge.
All right, then states exhibits 100 through 105 will be admitted and 107 is admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
Okay, so we're going to go through the photos one by one that we just looked at. So I'm showing you what's been marked as states exhibit 100.
Oh, just one moment. Just one moment.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as states exhibit 100. Can you tell me what's in that photo?
There's a red Spurs hat. Looks like it's on the dresser.
Okay, and did you collect that item of evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to go out of order a little bit. I'm showing you what's been marked states 107. And I know the color is off on these photos. Is that correct? Or at least up on the screen?
The color's found on my screen.
Oh, okay. What color is the hat?
Red hat.
Okay. And so on 107, what do you see?
It's a zoomed out picture of one of the last exhibit.
Okay. And what can you make out what items are in that little bin right behind the hat?
It's hard to tell from this picture.
Let's see if I can.
It looks like personal items.
Okay, what
bathroom
kind of bathroom items?
Shaving cream? It's not hard to tell.
Do the items that appear in this photo, do they appear to belong to an adult?
Yes.
Objection, that calls for speculation.
I'll withdraw, Judge.
All right, then questions withdrawn.
And do you notice any other article of clothing that you were looking for in this photo?
There's a shoe at the foot of that nightstand.
And did you collect that shoe into evidence?
I believe that is the one of the shoes that I collected.
And what is here?
That is a pair of shoes.
And are these the same shoes that are pictured in the photo that you previously looked at?
It appears to be yes.
And what size are those shoes?
I have in my report 11.5.
And they were adult male shoes?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm showing you State's Exhibit 101. And what is pictured in that photo?
I had pink on my report for the Loon muscle shirt,
And what size is that shirt?
3XL.
And does the 3 in this photo, does that correspond to the number of evidence listed in your report?
Yes, ma'am.
And I now show you State's 103. And what is in that photo?
It's a red muscle shirt.
Is that different from the shirt that you just identified?
Yes, ma'am. They
And
were
what's,
different brands.
I'm sorry.
They were different brands.
And what size is this shirt here?
6XL.
And were these 2 shirts items of clothing that you were looking for listed in the search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm showing you State's Exhibit 102. And what is that?
There's a pile of clothes on top of a wooden chest or dresser that had the muscle shirts in that pile of clothes.
And finally, I'm showing you State's 105. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is in that photo?
There's a clear plastic walking cane that was in a closet inside the apartment.
Was it located in the closet in the bedroom or the closet outside of the
It's a hallway closet.
bedroom? And what did you do with these items when you collected them?
I took them back to our office and packaged them as we were.
Did you package them at all at the scene?
Just briefly in brown bags to transport them.
I'm sorry, so can you repeat yours?
I packaged them, I collected them in paper bags and then packaged them at the office.
And did you notate the paper bags at all?
Yes, ma'am.
With what?
My initials and badge are on the red evidence tape.
And did you ever package them further or add to that packaging?
No, ma'am.
Did you do anything once you got to this station?
I packaged them at the station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And once they were packaged, what did you do with them?
Printed out an evidence label and then dropped them, all the items off at the property evidence storage facility.
So apart from collecting those items of physical evidence, did you do anything else at that time?
I took the photographs and collected the evidence. So I did this technique.
So you took the photographs that I just showed you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's get Roberson. I'm handing you. It's the marked States Exhibit 108. Can you open that up and take a look inside of that showing to the jury? And you recognize what's in that package?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's in that package?
The red's first hat.
Is it the hat pictured here in States Exhibit 107?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did that package get to the courtroom today?
I picked it up from the evidence room this morning.
And you brought it here?
Brought it here. Yes, ma'am.
And I'm handing you States Exhibit 109. Can you open that up, please, and take a look? And what is that?
It's a pink muscle shirt.
And what evidence number does that correspond to in your report?
E3.
Is that the same pink muscle shirt pictured here in States Exhibit 101?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did that pink muscle shirt get to the courtroom today?
I picked it up from the evidence facility and brought it here.
And are both the pink muscle shirt and the hat in the same or substantially the same condition as they were when you packaged them?
Where's that in front of us?
I'm handing you States Exhibit 110. Please open that up and look inside for it. And what's in Exhibit 110?
A red muscle shirt.
And what evidence number does that correspond to on your report?
E4.
And is this the size 6L muscle shirt that you collected on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did that muscle shirt get to the courtroom today?
I picked it up this morning and brought it.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 111. Please open that up and look inside. And do you recognize what's in that bag?
Yes, ma'am.
What's in that bag?
A pair of red and gray shoes.
And are they the shoes pictured here in State's 104?
Yes, ma'am.
And finally, I'm handing you State's Exhibit 112. Open that up and take a look inside. And what is in State's Exhibit 112?
It's a clear walking cane.
And it's that clear walking cane, the same clear walking cane that you collected from RC's house, pictured in State's 105.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did all of these items of evidence get to the courtroom today?
I picked them up this morning from the evidence room and brought them here.
And you collected all of these items of evidence, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you bring anything to the courtroom that you did not collect?
Yes, ma'am.
What did we ask you to bring?
I was instructed to bring a pair of shorts, blue shorts.
And I'm handing you State's Exhibit 113. Are those the shorts that we asked you to bring?
Yes,
But you did not collect those.
correct.
Your Honor, the state moves to enter States 108 through 112, any objection from defense?
May I take the may I ask the witness a word art question or two?
Yes.
Officer, did the items of clothing and the shoes, you keep saying they appear to be in one way that I think you're trained to make sure that they are, is that you can show the jury where on that shirt you put your initial, on the actual shirt, you put your initials or some type of marking, so you can say to this jury, this is that same shirt.
Correct.
So are there such markings on the shirts and shoes?
There should be, yes.
Or where do you normally put those markings on the,
On a shirt's usually right by the collar, somewhere towards the back.
may I
of the
approach
collar.
judge?
Yes.
Can you look to make sure that, just make sure the tags are where you think they are and that they're marked, please? Okay. Is that, it's written in black, is that your handwriting?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know who it was.
That's probably the crime lab. Did you mark the shoes and which bag has the pink stuff in it? Because this one?
Yes.
And you verified before coming into there at some point that you're marking on all of these that you're offering?
I didn't get a chance to verify before coming here today.
Will you just real quickly check the shoes and the hat, and the other shirt, just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing?
Depends. Mr. Funk.
Yes, Judge.
Did you need one?
Somewhere on this slide.
Okay. And I'm curious, did you see it on the hat? I didn't see it.
It's on the black. Or black.
Okay.
That's where I would've marked it. I don't know what date it is.
That was- So we have the markings on the two shirts. And the markings on the hat is somewhere on the black writing. You can't see it. And there's no marking on the shoe.
That's what I can see.
Okay. But your handwriting is on the packaging. I didn't see it. The packaging has your initials on it. On the shoes.
Should, yes.
And it's dated 10/20. Is that the day you collected them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And I have no objections, Judge, to those numbers.
All right, then states exhibits 108 through 112 is admitted into evidence.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Granted,
Investigator Roberson, can you please just hold up each item of evidence for the jury? Scratch that. So, publishing exhibit 108 to the jury. state is now publishing exhibit 109 to the jury. The state is now publishing exhibit 110 to the jury. And the state is now publishing exhibit 111 to the jury. And the state is now publishing exhibit 112 to the jury. And so finally, just to reiterate, you found all those items at 5622 Evers Road, apartment 1401, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the apartment of the defendant, R.C. Curtis,
Yes,
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the witness, right?
Defense.
Were there items at either apartment that you did not collect?
Yes.
There were, so who other than you came in behind you and collected evidence? If you know.
I believe CSI Hurtado collected evidence at the original apartment.
Hurtado?
Hurtado.
And the stuff from the Evers apartment, you say that was R.C. Curtis's apartment, but was he there when you went in there?
Not that I'm aware of.
You really don't know whose apartment it was, right?
That's what I was told.
Okay. And you only, those were the only 4 or 5 items from that apartment they asked you to take?
Yes, sir.
Did you look through, since you had did you have a warrant for the entire apartment?
Yes, sir.
Did you look through the apartment for anything else?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, either you did or you didn't.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what were you looking for?
Whatever was listed on the search warrant.
Well, did you find anything else that you or the detective, was the detective with you when you walked through the house?
Yes.
And did you all see anything else you thought was notable or worthy that you collected or photographed?
He had more information on the case than I did. I was just there to execute that search warrant. So I was really at his direction, really.
Correct, but other than these limited items you brought, did you find anything else, or did he instruct you to collect anything else for this case?
Not from that apartment, no.
You didn't, were you asked to take any pictures of any miscellaneous credit cards or debit cards?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't remember.
And is that because you didn't find them, or do you remember finding any that they talked to you about?
No.
Were you asked to take any pictures of any ladies' handbags or purses?
No.
Were you present, and did you find any ladies' handbags or purses that you didn't photograph?
Not that I recall.
if you had found something that Detective Hines felt was of evidentiary value, would you have taken pictures and collected them if he asked you to?
Yes, sir.
But in this case, the only thing you got were a couple of t-shirts out of, looked like 30 or 40. How many other pairs of shoes were in the house?
I don't remember.
Were there other shoes in the house?
I don't remember.
Well, you remember everything. You remember all of her, you remember exactly where you found all her stuff, but you don't remember. Did you walk through the rest of the house?
Yes,
You do remember that?
yes. How
How big of an apartment was it? 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
I don't remember.
Did you take other photographs of the apartment just to show the general state of the apartment?
Yes, overall views of every room.
Okay. He says he took a bunch of pictures of the apartment. Just the overall pictures. The pictures you took of the apartment on I-10. What day did you take those pictures?
I didn't take any pictures of that apartment.
Oh, the glasses. You just went, you didn't take pictures of the glasses, you just collected the glasses?
Detective Bertina took those pictures.
Okay, but did you actually collect the glasses?
Yes,
So you walked in, and why did you choose to take those glasses and nothing else?
Detective Hines requested I take those glasses.
Is it, but you're saying Hurtado was also there at the same time?
Hurtado was there the next day, or a couple days after, I can't remember. He wasn't there at the time I was there.
On the day that this happened, are you am I understanding correctly, you're the only evidence technician that was at that apartment?
Yes,
And on the day that this happened, the only thing they asked you to take were 1 pair of glasses.
yes,
Did you collect what must have been some torn, I mean, based on what the indictment, there must be some torn clothes laying around and evidence of rape. Did you collect all that stuff?
no, sir.
Because it wasn't there, was it?
I don't know.
Well, if it was there, you would have picked it up, wouldn't you have?
Yeah.
If there had been torn clothes or bloody clothes or evidence of a fight, you would have collected it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the bed sheets and the bed spread and all of that? Did you collect all that?
No, sir.
What about evidence of other dusting that scene for prints on that day? Did you do that?
No, sir.
Are you trained to dust for fingerprints?
Yes, sir.
What's the importance of dusting a crime scene for fingerprints?
Pretty important.
Pretty important. And when you're dealing with the case where you don't know who did what, it would actually be even more important, wouldn't it?
We weren't sure the nature of the crime or not crime at the time that we were there the first time.
So when Officer Tapia told the jury that it was obviously there had been a violent crime that occurred, you're disagreeing with him?
I'm not disagreeing.
Objection, Judge, it's a misstatement of the evidence. Tapia did not testify to that.
Overall.
Did you collect samples that day from cuttings from the carpet, perhaps?
I do not know.
There's a photograph of a beer can. I think it's a Keystone or some type. It's in the evidence. Did you collect anything like that so it could be tested?
I do not know.
Did you dust the front door for fingerprints?
I do not.
Did you dust the glasses for fingerprints?
No, they would blood on them.
What about the TV remote control or the canes or any of those items? Did any of that get processed like a crime scene should be processed?
No, sir.
One of the things when you process a crime scene that's important to do is maintain the integrity of the crime scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one of the ways that you do that is by immediately upon realizing it might be a crime scene, you have everyone put on gloves and booties on their shoes and all that stuff, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that didn't happen in this case?
No.
Would it surprise you that those photographs that this jury has shows people walking all around with their regular old tennis shoes?
Yes, it would.
It's not, it wouldn't be a proper investigative technique, would it?
No.
If the individual taking pictures of this crime scene is walking around in his street shoes, that could create cross-contamination, destruction of evidence, all kinds of things, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Well, when you were there picking up the glasses that day, did you notice, or did you stop and say, hey guys, why aren't you wearing booties and gloves like you're supposed to be?
I did not.
And Hines was present. You said he directed you to take the glasses.
Correct.
So at the time you're at the scene where this alleged assault occurred, there's a homicide detective in place.
Yes.
And he didn't instruct you to take any evidence other than that one. The only thing you took was one pair of glasses.
Correct.
That's all I have, Judge.
State.
Investigator Roberson, on the 21st, you made the scene of Paul Boyd's apartment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't the only CSI there, is that correct?
No, I was the only CSI there on the 21st, yes.
So you were the primary CSI who processed Paula Boyd's apartment, is that correct?
My understanding is her apartment was processed after the autopsy.
Are there other members of law enforcement with different various titles who processed Paula Boyd's apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Not you.
Correct.
So you weren't the primary responsible for that task, correct?
Correct.
So just because you didn't take prints there does not mean that prints weren't taken, correct?
Correct.
I'll pass it to the judge.
Defense.
Briefly. So when I asked you if you were the only evidence tech there, you said yes. When she asked you, you said no. So on the day that this happened, I thought you told me you were the only evidence collection guy in place on that day.
Correct.
Correct.
Detective Bertino was also taking photographs.
Correct. But he did not collect any evidence, correct?
Correct.
In fact, what he did was walk around with his street shoes on, screwing stuff up. Because the pictures, we can all see the pictures of that. But somebody at some point later came in, they say, and did all this, finally did some kind of investigation, but not you, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that a crime scene is best investigated when it's fresh?
Correct.
That's all I have, Judge.
State. All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Recall, please.
All right, the rule hasn't been invoked. What that means, you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. Honored persons, you're allowed to speak to our attorneys for the state and attorneys for the defense. Do you understand? All right, you're subject to recall, so you need to make sure you're available. All right, and with regards to the items, because Brenda needs to take those probably should be placed back inside their packaging material. And ladies and gentlemen, the jury, we're going to take a 5-minute break so that we can sanitize this area. Everyone rise for the jury, please. Yeah. Can be seated. And if anyone needs to take a break, you can take a break now, 5 minutes. We're going to sanitize this area.
Yeah, Coach, to get some of your.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the glove, their gloves.
I gotta save my pair.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
Oh, we have extra gloves.
Warn anybody, this stuff shoots straight up.
Oh, I have a bag. That we can put it on.
Same here.
They might need it. So.
Seated. All right, state, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Ms. Gracie Wall.
All right, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, and I'm going to ask that you please speak up so that the jurors and the state of the defense can hear you, okay? Could you state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Gracie Wall.
And Ms. Wall, what do you do for a living?
I'm a floor manager for HEB.
And how long have you been with HEB?
I've been with the company 26 years.
Okay. Your entire 26 years, has it been in one specific store or multiple stores?
Multiple stores.
Okay. And what store were you working at? Which HEB were you working at when you, in October of 2015?
I was working at HEB on Bexar.
Is that a good store?
Yes.
Get along with your team members, co-workers?
Yes, sir.
In the course of, when did you get to the days of honor?
About 2012 or 11.
Okay. And so as of 15, you've been there about 3 years.
No, sir, I've been there I've been there 6 years.
Well, but in 2015,
Yes.
you got there in 2012, 11, you've been about 3 years in 2015.
Yes, sir.
And did you know Olita Mendez Boyd?
Yes.
How'd you know her?
I got to meet her when she was she was already there, and I got to meet her when she started doing demos in our deli department.
Okay, when you say demos, what are demos?
It's like giving out samples for different kind of foods, new items coming into HEB.
Okay. Did you and Ms. Paulita get along?
Yes,
You say close or just friendly?
we were close.
Okay. Did you talk often?
Yes, sir.
If you could describe the relationship.
We were just like Miss Paulita was I got to meet her real nice and all that. I got to know her real good. We would give her ride home. So we would sit together in lunchtime. We would just talk about it when we would get home and go to our apartment and just sit there and talk.
You'd sit at her apartment. Is that in the Stone Oak Apartments?
Yes,
Times when you would sit and talk with her. You do this on a few or many occasions.
many occasions.
And so logically, that would be many occasions between when you started in 2011 or 12 and no later than October of 2015.
Yes.
Why is it that what caused you to maybe give her a ride or cause the relationship to develop?
Well, she didn't have any transportation. She depended on getting taxis, and I noticed that when she would get out in the evenings, that she'd be waiting there until a taxi picked her up. So when I seen her there standing alone in the night, I would offer her to give her rides, and I would take her home, or I make sure somebody would take her home so she can save her money for paying taxis.
Come back to that. Where did she live in relation to the HEB days of honor, HEB?
She lived in Stone Oak Apartments.
Is that far away?
No, it's just the other side of the highway of HEB.
You said that so she could save her money. Was that important?
Yes, sir, it was.
And it's generally important. But during those conversations that you would have with Paulita, did that become apparent and important?
Yes,
Did you ever meet any of Miss Paulita's family?
I met just one sibling, Brenda. I got to meet her, but other than that, that's not it. I got to see them in pictures, and she would talk about them.
Right. And did she talk about her family in those sessions when you would go inside her apartment and sit and visit?
Yes, sir. She talked about some family members and everything else, most of all.
How many children did she have?
I believe she had $3.
You know their names?
I know two of them. I know Marty and Brenda.
Okay.
I believe one of them was living out of town.
Okay. Did Miss Paulita ever talk about how she felt about any of her daughters, any of those daughters' children, her grandchildren?
Yes, sir, she did. Mostly of Marty and her granddaughter and RC.
Okay. That name you used, RC, where'd you get that from?
From Miss Paulita.
Did she say that name RC on one occasion or
Ma-
several times in those visits?
Many occasions. Many occasions.
Did she ever tell you how she felt about RC?
Yes, sir.
What did you say as you would recall it?
We were just talking about it. She was talking about her life and the struggles that she would go through. And mostly about her family members, there's three family members, and then she was afraid of she was afraid of RC and her daughter Marty and her
Yeah, I'm gonna object to that statement.
Sustained.
Your Honor, exception to hearsay is a statement of then existing state of mind, further goes to the relationship between the deceased and the defendant RC.
Judge, I think this is coming in as character evidence, not as extraneous offenses. Furthermore, we don't have the right of cross-examination, so it denied ability to obviously talk to Ms. Boyd. On that basis, it's hearsay. I'm going to object to it. It's not admissible.
All right, if
It's
the parties could
character.
approach, please.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, jury, we're gonna take a brief recess while I take up another matter. We're gonna break for 10 minutes. Remember, you've heard some evidence in this case, but you're not allowed to discuss what you've heard amongst each other or with anyone else. I'll let you know when you're allowed to deliberate, okay? All right, thank you. Everyone, please rise for the jury. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, so state, and this is for the record, this is outside the presence of the jury. So state if you are asking your questions, and then defense, you'll have your a chance to have objections if you have any objections.
Okay, ma'am. The question I'd asked you before the objection was raised. What I followed on because you mentioned the name RC. And I asked you if she ever, if Ms. Paulita ever told you how she felt about RC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you would tell me what she told you as to how she felt about RC. Go ahead and finish your answer.
By occasion, we were sitting there and I looked for pictures and she said that she had a grandson and her daughter, like they were, that she was afraid of, especially she goes pointed at Archie's pictures. And I said, why? So because, I mean, did they come during the time that I know they got paid or anything or looking for money or something before? And RC would just intimidate her and everything else. She would say, well, yeah, she would say that she was very afraid that she would constantly just, she can't say no because of the intimidation.
And in that window between when you met her, etc., can you recall specific, when's the last time you actually saw her?
It was that Monday I gave her right before.
Okay. Did she repeat that statement? That would be Monday, October the 20th.
Yes, sir.
Did she make that statement again on October the 20th?
No, sir.
Okay. You remember when the last time it was she made that statement?
It was about 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Before that?
Yes.
Did she ever indicate how she felt if she refused the request?
She would just be afraid if she refuses.
Did you ever try to counsel her about it?
Yes, I would tell her like if she felt afraid or anything, just to put it to when she would get home, lock the doors, don't answer the door. Even if it's a family member or whoever it was. And if he approaches or anybody approaches those 3 members, they call the police.
How did she react when you told her that?
She was a little calmer, but she said she would on and she eventually, when I would leave, she would make sure her doors are locked.
Have you yourself ever, met RC?
No, sir.
How is it you knew the name, or have you ever seen him?
No, sir. I've seen them on pictures. She will point out pictures.
Okay. For the purpose of this hearing, may I approach him?
Yes.
And I'm showing you what is marked as State's Exhibit number 114 for identification. Can you identify the people who are in State's 114 for identification? Okay.
RC. And mine.
And is this one of the pictures that Miss Paulita showed you in her apartment?
She had other pictures on the walls that she had.
And those other pictures, did she identify RC?
Yes.
And so from those other pictures, is that how you can identify the people in State's Exhibit 114 for identification?
Yes.
Was RC the only one that she would tell you she felt that way about in terms of asking her for money or coming to her apartment?
No, sir.
Who else did she
Her
say?
daughter, Brenda. Her daughter-in-law, her granddaughter,
You know what her granddaughter's name is?
Erica.
And is Erica one of the people in this picture? State's 114 for identification.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever met Erica?
Yes.
Did she also point out Erica in those pictures in her house during those conversations?
Yes.
And is that how you can identify Erica in State's 114 for identification?
Yes.
Did she ever indicate being afraid of any of her other daughters?
No.
Did she, when you were talking and she expressed her feelings towards RC, Erica, and Madi, did she offer that up herself or did you ask her? Were you asking her?
No, she just started a conversation that we have about her family and everything else. I never asked her about any of her kids.
No further questions. I'll pass the witness.
Defense, do you have any questions with regards to that subject matter? Or are you ready for argument?
Procedure.
Yes.
Mr. Wall, how long did you work with Paula Boyd?
6 years.
6 years. And you testified that she said that she was afraid of R.C. Curtis?
Yes.
Okay. And did she ever tell you that he hurt her?
He will not hurt her, but just intimidate her, like,
Okay. Basically, what she's telling you is how she felt, right?
yes.
She never described anything that was done other than telling you how she felt.
Correct.
In fact, you don't have any personal knowledge of witnessing Mr. R.C. Threatening her or anything like that, or begging for money, or insisting that she give him money.
No, I have
You don't
not.
have that.
I didn't witness.
Okay. So basically what you heard is how she felt. Is that correct?
Yes, she,
But you really don't know what really happened because you never observed.
true.
So all she told you is how she felt at that time.
Yes, several times.
Okay, several times. But you could never verify that that was true.
Just verified one time about money.
One time.
Yes.
Okay. And that one time was what?
Her account was overdraft by $1,000 and
Okay. And if I recall, she blamed her daughter for that $1,000.
yes,
Okay, so it wasn't RC then?
No.
Okay. So when you say that, she didn't say anything that RC took that $1,000 out.
no,
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Just one last time. When in those, again, I think you said it was on more than one occasion that she mentioned RC and how she felt about it.
yes, sir.
Did you ever ask her why she felt that way about RC?
Yes,
And why did she feel afraid of RC?
RC would like not force herself, but just tell her where the money is, real like intimidated, like real in a scared mode. So she couldn't say no, she just got scared and just go ahead and give it whatever they wanted.
And she told you that.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, then the court, if you will step down for a moment, please. You're still under oath, but if you will wait outside for me, please. All right, the court will hear argument. Defense, you have an objection.
Well, we state that under 803, that present sense impressions, admissibility of statements is limited to a prior statement that describes the condition or event. It's not meant to describe what actually happened. And that's the difference in this case, and that's why it's not admissible, because if it went to the event, then it become character evidence. So Mr. R.C. Curtis. Also, his basis is that we lack confrontation under the Sixth Amendment. And furthermore, that I find this testimony to be highly prejudicial, and as that the witness could not describe any personal knowledge that this happened other than a present sense statement by Ms. Boyd. For that case, under this situation, I believe it's inadmissible.
All right, state.
Your Honor, again, the exception, black letter of the rule is there to allow a declarant then existing state, and it goes towards motive, intent, plan, emotional or sensory perception. The rule expressly excludes a specific statement or recall. It contextualizes it again because in a murder trial, the nature of the relationship between the victim and the defendant is an issue. That is one of the reasons that the rule is crafted that way for those statements of fear, reaction, motive from the defendant. It was Paula Boyd's voluntary offered recollection as to how she felt about her granddaughter's husband, this defendant, and it is admissible for the rule. She specifically said, I am afraid of them. I cannot say no to them. And it is within the bounds of the exception. The also, yes, can I correct you, Your Honor? I think I was there. I'm talking specifically section 3836 in the rules of criminal procedure, going towards, again, the relationship between the deceased and the accused, that it is all consistent and contemporary with the spirit of the hearsay exception. So reason they allowed the hearsay exception finally for counsel's balancing test to be inadmissible, particularly over a listed exception. The prejudicial effect has to far exceed any probative value. And it does not in this case, because what we have are statements from the complainant that, as counsel is drawn out on cross, nobody has direct action, they didn't see it, but it goes to Ms. Paulina Boyd's state of mind towards this defendant. It should be admitted.
Again, Judge, the admissibility only goes to prove the fact, believe that the declarant thought the victim was dangerous, not that the victim was dangerous. And that's the problem I'm having in this case, is that the jury, by letting us in, is going to believe that the defendant was dangerous based upon her present sense impression at the time, which was a month or so before the incident happened. But that's why I believe it's inadmissible based upon with lack of confrontation.
All right. All right, the court is doing a balancing test. The court is going to find that the prejudicial effect is far outweighed by any probative value. So defense's objection will be sustained.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I think I misheard. The prejudicial, you said the prejudicial effect is far outweighed by probative value.
I'm sorry, the prejudicial effect, yes, is far outweighed by probative value.
Far outweighs.
Yes. All right. Can we bring the jury back in? And if you could have your witness retake the stand, please. Thank you.
Judge,
Yes.
would also ask the court to give the jury instruction to disregard the testimony that they heard regarding the present sense of impression. That they do not interpret it to mean that my client was dangerous.
All right, I'll ask the jurors to disregard any answer that was given. Which question was that, Brenna? I think it was on the thoughts. Yes, we're ready.
All right, for the
Oh,
jury.
Brenna, I have it. Yes. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are to disregard and not consider any answer that was made by this witness as it relates to the complainant's feelings toward the defendant. Does everyone understand? All right,
Your Honor,
yes.
this time I'm going to request a mistrial based upon the fact that I don't believe the jury instruction you provide jury would be sufficient to avoid any prejudicial effect. The jury haven't heard that in this regard.
All right, that'll be denied. State.
During those occasions, you give Ms. Foley a ride and you talk. What did you learn about her habits and customs? What did she do in the evening when you left?
She would get home and get your shoes off and everything else, and she would get ready to watch her Spanish soap operas with her little six-pack.
Six-pack of what?
A six-pack of Spitz beer. And we would just sit there and talk.
How'd she get along with other coworkers as the days of our story?
She get along with everybody. I mean, everybody watched over her, everybody worked with her well. She had no one that actually complained about her, but I mean, she was just like a mom and grandma to everybody.
I'd like to move forward. So you said testified that the last time you saw her was Monday, October 19th, 2015.
Yes, sir.
You gave her a ride home then.
Yes, sir.
When was the next time as of Monday, October 19th, when was the next time you expected to see her?
On Wednesday.
And why did you expect to see her on Wednesday?
She was scheduled to come in at 1 to 7. That's scheduled time she was coming in.
Okay. And Wednesday, that's Wednesday, October 21st, 2019?
Yes, sir.
Correction, 2015. Did she make it?
No, so we were worried about her because she would panic if she was 5 minutes late. She would call the store. So the deli manager made our unit director aware that she was late, and she was never late. She was always on time.
Who was the deli manager?
Her name was Cindy.
Do you know what did any of her team members do when she was late?
The unit director had asked to follow through. Maybe something had happened to her, or maybe she's running late or something, if her phone wasn't working, so. The deli manager went, on her way home, she stopped at Paulita's apartment.
You remember about what time of day this was?
It was about maybe 2:30.
Did she ever show up after the deli manager stopped by her apartment?
I know she called the store and let us aware that, well, let my unit director know that she didn't answer the door.
What happened after, and who's the unit?
Our unit director is Jaime Lozano.
What happened after the unit director found out that the deli manager didn't make contact?
He comes to me and says, Gracie, can you send somebody or you can go? I said, well, it's time I able to go, so I'll send one of my coworkers to go follow.
Who'd you send?
Miss Gloria Grimes.
Did you hear any update from Ms. Grimes?
No, she called and said that,
Look, without saying what she said. Ultimately, did you decide to go to Miss Paulita's apartment to see for yourself?
yes, when she had no results, so I went.
Tell
And
me, as you went,
Mhm.
so the deli manager Cindy went, unit supervisor followed up with people at the store, you sent someone, then you decided to go.
yes,
What was going through your mind?
I said, maybe something happened to her because
Should object to that, Judge.
What is your legal objection?
Speculation.
Sustained.
I asked what her mind was after all of those things, Judge. That's speculation, is what she thought.
Gotta be sustained.
Okay. What did you do?
so I was worried that they don't want those partners didn't get any results, so I called 911 to do a welfare check while trying to get there.
Did you call yourself? Did you get someone else to do it?
I called someone else to do it.
Who'd you call?
I called my ex-husband,
And what was his name?
Raymond Velasquez.
And how long after you got Mr. Velasquez to ask for welfare check, how long after did you go yourself?
About maybe 20 minutes.
When you got there, what did you find?
I found I arrived when the officer was just getting there. So
And did you talk to that officer?
yes, I said, he goes, I'm here to do a welfare check. And he asked me why. And I said, she doesn't answer the door and she's never late. I'm just worried about her.
Yeah, approach her.
Yes.
I'm showing you what has already been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit number 14. And are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
State's 14. And are you yourself on this picture?
Yes, sir.
Where are you?
I'm in the green.
That you right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So did you yourself go into the apartment?
I tried, I went, I was at the door, I turned the knob. And that's when the police officer stopped me and say, don't let me go in there. And he did.
And was it one officer alone or were there a couple officers?
There was one officer alone at that time.
And how long was he inside?
I gave him about maybe 5 minutes and he came back nodding his head. That she wasn't alive.
After that single officer went in, comes out, did more people and circumstances show up?
Yes. are calling the fire department and other law enforcement.
Did you recognize any of the firefighters that showed up?
Several,
Where'd you recognize them from?
from Bexar Wall, from the store from very shocked there, that's the one store.
Is that the same store that Ms. Paulita worked at?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any effect on any of the firefighters?
Yes, when they went in, and about 10 minutes later, the firemen had tears and nodding their heads that they couldn't breathe.
How long did you stay at Ms. Paulita's apartment, Stone Oak Apartments?
All the way until the coroner picked her body up.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 95 for identification. What is State's 95 for identification?
That's only been her fireman. She got those firemen every day, whoever it was. And she made sure that she looked beautiful for them. She made sure, she would ask me, Grace, is my lipstick okay? Because they're coming in. I said, yeah, they're coming in, you look beautiful.
Where is State's 95 for identification? Where is this picture actually exist?
At the Bexar Deli department, in our manager's department.
And those firefighters that were coming out, shaking their head, tears in their eyes, do you see any of them in the picture that is State's Exhibit 95 for identification?
I see one of them.
Which one? This would be the firefighter who is the second from the right, standing to Ms. Paulita's left shoulder.
Yes.
Move to introduce State's 95 in the evidence, appended to the defense for inspection.
We have no objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 95 is admitted.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Apologies, Your Honor.
After the medical examiner escorted Ms. Paulita out, did you have anything else to do with this matter that day, October 21st, 2015? Did you ever give anyone a written statement about what you did? If I recall from my notes, you and I first met in May of 2018 at the Days of Honesty.
Yes, sir.
And aside from talking with me in my notes, you had no written statements or anything?
I know, I recall that 2 officers came after asking for me. They were doing the investigation, but other than that, that's it.
But you yourself didn't give a written statement to anyone? I have no further questions, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
I have no further questions.
All right, is this witness subject for recall or is she excused?
Just that she's available if we need her.
All right. The rule has been revoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state or the defense. They may be recalling you, either the state or the defense. So just make sure you're available, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. State, call your next witness.
State calls Roland Hurtado.
All right, if you can take a seat here, please, and please do not touch the microphone. All right. Can you raise your right hand for me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. If you could state your name for the record and spell your last name, please.
First name is Raul, last name is Hurtado. Last name Hurtado, first name Raul.
All right, state.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hurtado. How are you currently employed?
SAPD unit, crime scene.
And what do you do in that unit?
I'm a crime scene investigator with you.
Tell the jury a little bit about the duties of a crime scene investigator.
Well, basically, we go to all major scenes, murders, rapes, burglaries, and we process those scenes. We identify evidence, and sometimes it's in coordination with detectives, and we figure out what's the items of evidentiary value, and we process them. Photographs, video collection.
So what do you mean by process then?
Well, basically process is photographing could be processing an item.
And what else? What else is involved in processing the scene?
Basically, anything that's deemed items of evidentiary interest. So it could be processing a burglary vehicle and taking latent prints from that vehicle. It could be photographing just items that we think that might be valuable. It could be doing a gunshot residue on a shooting suspect.
And how long have you been working in that capacity?
It's this January is going to be 12 years.
So is it fair to say that you've processed quite a few crime scenes?
I've done a lot of major scenes, a lot of minor scenes.
And did you receive special training or education to perform the duties? Of
Yes,
that
we
role?
need a bachelor's of in forensics or criminology or any other of the disciplines, and then 400 hours of actual study time at the academy.
And from time to time, do you also get continuing education?
Yes, yes.
So you said you were doing it for 12 years?
This January is going to be 12 years.
And you were working in that capacity on October 22nd, 2015, is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Yes.
And were you called out to process a scene of a crime on that day?
I believe I went out the following day for the initial scene.
So what day was that?
I believe, can I reference my report? So that would have been
I'm gonna stop you very briefly.
okay.
So you mentioned you have a copy of the report here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to mark it as States Exhibit 115. And feel free to refer to your report to refresh your recollection, but please don't read directly from it.
Yes, ma'am.
So what date did you head out to that scene to process it?
So I got called out by Detective Mike Garcia, who's also was in our unit. He's retired now, and he said he needed assistance on this particular scene that we initially went prior the day before.
So which date did you go out?
It should have been the 22nd.
Okay, and what crime were you investigating or processing?
At that point, after the information that I got, it was considered homicide.
And was it your understanding that the homicide had occurred on that day, on the 22nd?
It was my understanding that, I don't know when it occurred, but I know that we had gone out to the scene the day prior to me going out.
So that would be October 21st,
Yes,
2015.
yes.
And so why did y'all go out the next day, not that day, do you know?
Well, basically, I received information that the medical examiner's office had ruled.
Objection, that's gonna be hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay, we'll move on.
Okay.
So the day that you went out to the scene, what time did you head up there, or arrive, I should say?
I have around 1:25 that day, 13:25.
And what was the address that you arrived to?
12,200 IH 10 West, apartment 205. It's the Stone apartment.
And whose apartment was that?
The victims from what I,
Do you know her name?
yes, it's Paula Boyd.
So when you arrived that afternoon, what was happening at the scene?
Basically, Detective Garcia, who's a tenured CSI detective, he gave me an update on the incident details and saying that you were prior. You were
Objection,
there
Hearsay.
prior.
Sustained.
So without saying what people said, just tell me what you observed personally, who was there, what were they doing?
Basically, Detective Garcia was out there. We had another CSI, Mark Machado, that was at the scene.
Okay, so you mentioned Machado and Garcia.
Yes, and I believe Detective Hines was out there from homicide.
Was it just those three people, or were others there as well?
My recollection, I don't remember, but I remember seeing those people specifically there.
So now, what specific tasks were you there to complete?
At that point, arriving, I didn't know I was going to do any type of evidence collection. So basically, conferring with the Detective Garcia, he started identifying items of evidentiary value, and he marked those items.
And what was the purpose of marking those items?
Basically, we were going to collect those items
Okay, for what reason?
as being evidence.
Who ended up collecting those items of evidence?
On this day, I collected those items of evidence.
And if you could, just go through and list the items of physical evidence that you collected from the scene that day.
Okay, I'm going to refer back to my report. So E1 was, I believe, was released to Detective Hines. And I believe, I don't have it listed here, but I believe it was a cell phone as E1. E2 was a bed sheet with apparent blood that we collected from the actual bed. E3 was a pillow cover. It was a plastic white with apparent blood, also collected from the bed.
And if you could also just state what room, where did you collect these items of evidence?
So that's going to be the actual bed, those. E4, it was a towel, a red, and it also had apparent blood on it, and it was also collected from that same area. E5 was a mattress cover. It was a white mattress cover with apparent blood, also collected from the bed. E6 was a piece of carpet. It was basically we identified blood and we cut that item out. So it was actually a piece of the rug in the bed. And then I also took a swab of that blood. So I took a sample of blood swab from it. So that would be E6A. E7 were walking canes. Two of them, they were both black, and they were collected from the carpet floor near the dresser. E8 were towels, which were pretty much stacked on top of each other. And there was two each, and one white, one red, with apparent blood collected from the bed. They were actually on the bed. E9 were walking canes. Okay, that was E9, that was a walking cane. Okay, E10 was a swab of apparent blood collected from the bedroom door frame. So we identified apparent blood that we thought might be on the door frame, so we collected it. We swabbed it. E11 was a swab of apparent blood collected from the outside bedroom door floor area. E13 was a swab of apparent blood collected from the kitchen floor area, which We weren't too sure it was blood. It was a red substance, so we decided to collect it in.
Okay, so, so E6A, you said it's a swab of apparent blood collected from E6. Can you please describe how you took a swab of blood from the carpet
So
sample?
basically, E6 was the actual piece of carpet with apparent blood. So basically, we take a swab and we take a swab of that sample.
What is a swab?
Basically, it's two Q-tips, if you would imagine, they're swabs, and we put distilled water on them, and then we gap that surface to create some type of basically the blood from, and then it actually transfers onto the actual swabs. So that was a separate item from the actual 6. That's why I identified it as E6A.
And you took several other swabs of blood, E10 through E13. And tell me, how did you package those swabs of blood?
So basically, those swabs come in a little package, and we just open them, we add distilled water to the tips of the swabs, and then we dab whatever area that we want to try to get apparent blood from. And then we reseal them. And basically these the covers are breathable. So in order so it won't contaminate any DNA evidence or any of the DNA that's on the actual blood. So, and then we put them into another envelope and then we seal them. But I do most of the sealing at the actual unit.
So tell me what you do to kind of seal them at the scene.
I don't seal them at the scene. I put them into its own envelope. I identify that envelope with the evidence marker that is associated with that item of evidence, and then I put them in a separate brown bag, and I do all my collection, and basically it was an extensive scene that day, so we had a lot of items of evidence.
So I can see that you took, so I mentioned earlier, you have several swabs of apparent blood, and they're from several places inside of the apartment. So, or I should say, well, you took swabs of apparent blood, so we don't know that it's blood yet, right?
Yes, I mean, we're just assuming that it's.
Now, did you scan the apartment and look for evidence of substances that may or may not be blood?
Yes, everything that we thought might be blood, we collected.
And I see that you have E7 and E9. They're both walking canes. One of them is black in color, both, and then one is black, one with a wood handle. These were, just to clarify, they're separate walking canes, correct?
Yes,
Not a
yes.
duplicate? Okay. So tell me how, I know you talked a little bit about how you packaged the swabs of apparent blood, but tell me how you packaged the other pieces of physical evidence that you collected.
Basically, it's the same way. If there's a surface that I might be able to annotate my initials or something on it, I'll do that, and then I'll seal them up we have brown bags, we have envelopes, and I'll seal those surfaces. I guess the surface that's glued together, and then actually when we actually fold it over, then we use clear tape, and then we identify it with evidence tape, and then the standard practice is to sign off on that, our initials and our badge.
Now, the process that you just described, does that occur at the scene, or are you talking about a process that occurs generally later at the station?
It's at the station.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but at the scene, you package them obviously for transport?
Yes, and just so we can identify them, so basically I take an inventory of everything that I collected at that point, and I make sure that I have everything before I transport them over to the actual 515 South Freedom.
And what notations, if any, do you make on the packaging that you create at the scene?
Yeah, since I'm not setting them up, I'll usually put the identifiable marker or item number, evidence number on that paper, on the brown paper or the envelope.
And the evidence number, you mean, you're referring to the number, the E1, E2, E3
Yes,
in your report?
Yes.
Okay, and what do you do with them once you package them up over at the station?
They go to, 401 South Rio, there are temporary lockers there. And then the evidence, property people from 555 Academic come and they retrieve them. And they take them over to the main evidence building, which would be on Academic Road.
Okay, and do y'all use any kind of barcode system?
Yes, yes, so that's gonna be initially, that's gonna be put on the package or the envelope after we seal everything up. Then we'll print those out. We have to go into software called File and Queue, and then we create those labels for that.
Okay, apart from collecting physical evidence from the scene, did you conduct any other type of investigation?
On this scene, Mike Garcia, he actually took the photographs. He actually did a sketch too, according to my report. And then Mark Machado took video. So I didn't. My job was to strictly do the evidence that day, and that's what I did.
And did you collect any prints or look for?
I searched for prints, and I think I'm gonna go back and reference to. I know it was on the beer cans, and then, okay, so E7 would have been the walking canes that I searched for latent prints. E9 would also have been the other walking canes, and then E15 would be the cans of beer.
Okay. And if you could just hold one moment.
So Investigator Hurtado, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as state 64. Do you recognize that beer can in that photo?
Yes, ma'am, that's item E15.
And is that the photo, is that the beer can that you dusted for prints?
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned that you were unable to find prints?
I developed no latent prints from any of the items that I searched.
Why did you print those items specifically?
Basically to try to identify if we were to get latent prints from the beer cans or whatever, to try to identify whoever was drinking them.
And why didn't you print the others, any other stuff?
The walking canes, I printed them because just in case they were used in any type of as a weapon.
Investigator Hurtado, I am showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 116 through 124. Take a look at those.
Okay, outside.
Do you recognize those photos? That's the scene. And do they fairly and accurately depict the scene as you remember it that day? Judge State moves to enter states 116 through 124. Any objection from the defense?
No objections.
All right, states exhibits 116 through 124, I admit it.
Permission to publish, Judge?
Granted.
Okay. I'm showing you what the marker states 116. Tell the jury what that is a photo of.
It's basically the victim's bed.
The victim's bed, so that's located in the victim's apartment.
Yes,
And I see several markers there. Did you place those markers?
no.
Who placed those markers?
Detective Garcia
Okay,
places them.
and what do those,
Detective Garcia places them.
and what do those markers indicate?
I mean, obviously we're gonna collect those. I think number 2 was the bed sheet, right? Yeah, it was the bed sheet, number 2. Number 4 was the towel, the red towel, and number 3 was pillow cover. And number 5 would be the mattress cover itself.
Do all of those markers correspond with the evidence as it's listed in your report?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have from your report E2 through E5 up there, is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And did you collect all of those pieces of evidence?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you move the sheets and the towels up there? Or was it like that when you arrived?
No, I believe initial pictures were taken, but when Detective Garcia identified that I didn't move any items to the actual collection.
Okay, so when you arrived to the scene and you entered the home and you entered the victim's bedroom, did it look that way?
I think he was in the process of identifying items, so he was marking as I got there.
Okay, and who is he? Just,
This is Detective Mike Garcia, who's now retired.
okay. So I'm showing you now what is State's Exhibit 17. What does that depict?
Apparent blood on the carpet.
Exhibit 117, that's blood on the carpet?
Yes, that's what we identified as apparent blood. So we wanted to get a sample.
Okay, and did you in fact get a sample from that blood stain on the carpet?
Yes, ma'am, that would we. Well, I cut a piece of the carpet.
Okay, and what evidence number is the piece of the carpet?
It should be E6, yes, E6.
And is that what the 6 there depicts?
Yes.
And E18, another very similar to the last one. And what's in E19?
It's the same. Just more than likely a mid-range photograph.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, more than likely a mid-range photograph.
And Exhibit 120?
That would be a close-up photograph of E6 and the blood.
How about Exhibit 121?
That was a couple of specks of apparent blood on the floor.
And did you collect that as evidence?
Yes, it was a swab.
And 123,
Just a closer photograph, I bet.
Investigator Hurtado, did you bring any of that evidence with you to court today?
The one item that out of the collection of multiple items that I collected, I brought E6 to court, along with other items,
Okay, we'll get to those in a minute. So you brought E6, which is what?
which is gonna be the fabric or the carpet, piece of carpet cut out.
Judge, can we approach briefly?
Yes. All right, State.
So Investigator Hurtado, I just marked exhibit 125. What is that?
It's a piece of carpet cut out from the victim's carpet.
Okay, and that corresponds with which item of evidence on your report?
Evidence marker 6, number 6, E6.
Okay, and apart from that piece of evidence, did our office ask you to bring any other evidence with you today?
Yes, ma'am. They asked me to transport some additional evidence.
Okay, and I'm sorry.
Yes, basically, I would imagine the lab samples.
Okay, and how many pieces of evidence did you transport today?
Today, 12 items of evidence, including one.
Okay, give me one moment. Okay, so I
I
can
understand
just,
you requested one.
Thank you.
I can just mark those pieces of evidence that you brought with you today at our request. Okay. there were 5 packages total, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so investigator Hurtado. Please list what piece of evidence we asked you to bring today.
Okay, you want me to read the barcode numbers or the last 4?
You know what, we'll go one by one.
Okay.
So let's start with the first one. And if there is an evidence marker on the exterior of the package, please read that.
So the first item would be, it's basically, it says a buccal swab.
Okay. And you could just read the last 4 digits of the barcode.
Okay, so it'd be 3534.
Okay.
Yeah, 3534.
And which package is that in?
That's right. First one.
So the exterior of the package is marked exhibit 126, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, if you don't mind opening up that package and pulling out that buckle swab.
We have gloves.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We're just identifying the specific piece of evidence inside the package, we're not leaving the, that's a big. I don't do that, we're not gonna actually open.
I'm at this point, I'm gonna object to relevance. If he's opening packages that he either 1, didn't collect, or 2, didn't package, he can't, they're not relevant to this trial at this point.
Your Honor, he's the chain of custody, he brought the packages here. We are not seeking to introduce the packages at this time, we are merely marking them for, into evidence.
All right, so he's not opening any packages.
Correct, Judge, he's opening this because there are a lot of pieces of evidence in here, specific individual ones, and we're going to mark those, but he's not gonna open those packages.
At this point, he didn't collect, all he did was bring them from point A to point B. They're not relevant to this case until whoever put them in that envelope says they have something to do with this case.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court stated that each day we will break at 4:30. It appears that this witness may take us beyond 4:30. So what we're going to do is we're going to break at this point. We're going to start back tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. to conclude with the state's direct examination of this witness and the defense's cross-examination. Remember, you are not allowed to deliberate. You're not allowed to discuss this case with each other, and you're not allowed to see, hear, watch anything about this case. The evidence that you receive is evidence that comes from inside this courtroom, from this witness stand and exhibits that are admitted. Does everyone understand? All right, so we'll be back at, we'll start back tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. All right, everyone rise for the jury.